The head of our homeowners association just told the police that I was on my own ranch without permission. Her name is Victoria Peterson, and she decided to give my two-acre lake to her son, Tyler. He even put up a big, official-looking sign. When I told them they couldn't do that, she had the police arrest me. She lied to the officers, saying I was a danger and was stopping the neighborhood kids from using a lake that she claimed was theirs. This woman acts like she runs the whole neighborhood and can do anything she pleases. But there's something she doesn't know about me. And believe me, when she finds out, it's going to turn her whole world upside down. You're about to see the biggest takedown of a power-hungry HOA Karen ever recorded. Please comment with the country you're watching from. I'd love to see how far this story goes. It was a beautiful Monday morning, and I was planning to go fishing like I usually do. But when I walked out onto my porch, I stopped in my tracks. I couldn't believe what I saw. There was a huge wooden sign, as big as my front door, put upright. At the edge of my lake, the words were carved right into the wood and painted a bright gold. It said, Tyler Peterson Memorial Lake. It also said it was a gift from HOA President Vicki Peterson to the community. Underneath that, there was a drawing of a boy swimming and some small words that said, for our future generation, open to all community children. I just stood there with my coffee cup still hot in my hand, my mind racing to understand what was happening. Someone had just given my own lake away to the whole neighborhood. And a memorial lake. Tyler is still alive, isn't he? Suddenly, a loud laugh broke the morning peace. It was Tyler, standing by the lake with his phone live streaming. To his friends, yo guys, he shouted excitedly. Welcome to Tyler's Lake. My mom just gave me this whole lake for my birthday. To full acres of private water. Who wants to come to my pool party this weekend? Comments started pouring in on his stream. Oh my God, so lucky. Your mom is amazing. Can I come swim? Tyler kept on bragging. Yeah, my mom is the head of the HOA here. She pretty much controls everything. What really got to me wasn't just how cocky Tyler was, but how much he truly believed in his mother's power. This wasn't just a kid trying to look cool for social media. He really thought that because his mom was the HOA president, he had special rights in the neighborhood. I couldn't help but wonder what other lies Vicki had told him about her job and her power. Did she make him think that HOA presidents were like small-town mayors who could do whatever they wanted? Or was this just what happens when a kid is told his whole life that he's special and can have anything he wants? Either way, it was obvious Tyler didn't understand anything about property ownership, how a community is run, or even just basic respect for others. He was live streaming from my private land as if he owned it, with no clue how wrong his actions were. He said this old guy who lived here before was being greedy, keeping this beautiful lake all to himself, so my mom decided to free it for the community. I'm pretty much the lake manager now. I calmly walked over to him. Keeping my voice even, I said, Tyler, I need you and your mom to take this sign down right now. Tyler looked up, his face showing he was annoyed that I had interrupted his live stream. Excuse me, who are you? He asked. I'm David Miller. I own this property, and that includes this lake, I told him. Tyler just laughed at me and turned back to his phone. Guys, the old owner is here trying to make trouble, but don't worry. My mom took care of all the legal stuff. I stayed patient. Tyler, this is private property. That sign needs to come down now, dude, Tyler said, waving his hand as if to brush me off. My mom is the HOA president. She's in charge of everything around here. This lake belongs to the community now. She has the power to do that. His live stream viewers started cheering him on. Tell him, Tyler. That old man needs to chill. HOA power. I looked at Tyler with a small smile. Really? That's interesting. Tyler, feeling even more sure of himself, said, yeah? She said something about the government being able to take land for the good of the community. Just then, as if on cue, Vicki Peterson showed up. She was walking down the little path, carrying a fake designer purse and wearing a white shirt with a navy blazer. Her blonde hair was perfectly done. She walked with the confidence of someone who had just won a big court case. "Tyler, sweetie, what's going on here?" Her voice was as sweet as honey, but her eyes were as sharp as knives when she looked at me. "Mom, this guy wants me to take our sign down," Tyler whined. Vicky turned to me with a perfect, fake business smile. "Oh, David, good morning. I hope you slept well. I was actually planning to talk to you today anyway. About taking this illegal sign off my property," I asked. Vicky's smile didn't move. "Oh, David, I think you might be confused. This isn't about taking anything down. This is about our exciting new community lake access project," she pointed to the sign as if she were showing off a new product. "You see, after a lot of thought and talking with the HOA board, we've decided that this beautiful resource shouldn't be kept by just one person. Think of all the children in our community who could get so much joy from having access to clean water and nature. This is my private property, Vicky," I repeated. Vicky tilted her head, her voice still sweet, but something in her tone was changing. "HOA rules can be very tricky, David. Property rights in an HOA community aren't as simple as some people think." Tyler, feeling brave, added more fuel to the fire. "Yeah, Mom explained it all to me. What the community needs comes first." Vicky stroked her son's hair. "Exactly, sweetie. David, I'm sure once you understand the legal rules and how this helps everyone, you'll see this is the right thing to do." I looked right into Vicky's eyes, and a hidden smile started to form on my face. "I know HOA rules very well, Vicky, probably better than you think." For the first time, Vicky's smile started to fade a little. "Oh, are you a lawyer?" "David, let's just say I've been dealing with HOAs for a lot longer than you might think," I replied. Tyler, who didn't sense the growing tension, kept live streaming. "Anyway, guys, pool party this Saturday. Mom's making it official." Vicky tried to get back in control. "David, I really hope we can handle this in a friendly way. The community already knows about the lake access project. It would be a shame if one person's selfishness caused problems for everyone." I stood my ground, my voice calm. "Remove the sign, Vicky. I'm afraid that's not possible," she said. "The decision was made through the proper HOA channels." "Then we have a problem," I said. Vicky stared at me, her mind racing. Then she pulled out her phone and her voice suddenly changed to sound worried. "I'm sorry, David, but if you're going to be aggressive about this ... double quotes," she dialed 911 ... double quotes 911. "What's your emergency?" "Yes, I need to report a dangerous situation. An aggressive man is threatening me and my son at our community lake project. He's stopping children from getting to the water and making threats." Tyler looked at his mom, confused. "Mom, he didn't really threaten us." Vicky quickly covered the phone's microphone and whispered fiercely, "Shut up, Tyler." Then back into the phone. "Yes, we're at the lake behind the Miller property on Oakwood Drive. Please hurry. I'm scared for my safety and my son's." Within 10 minutes, a police car pulled up. Officer Martinez, a tall man with a mustache, got out. "Ma'am, what seems to be the problem?" Vicky rushed over to him. "Officer, thank goodness you're here. This man has been threatening us because we're trying to start a community project that was legally approved by our HOA." Officer Martinez looked at me. "Sir, can I see some identification and proof that you own this property?" I calmly handed him my driver's license and the deed to my property. Officer Martinez looked them over carefully and then looked at the sign. "Ma'am, this property and the lake clearly belong to Mr. Miller. Do you have any papers that show the HOA has the right to put signs on private property?" Vicky stuttered. "Well, the HOA has certain rights. For the good of the community ... double quotes, unless you have the right legal papers. This sign is trespassing. Mr. Miller has every right to ask for it to be removed," the officer explained after. The police left. Vicky stood by her car, her face red with anger. Tyler had stopped his live stream and was looking at his mom with a worried expression. "This isn't over, David," Vicky said, her voice no longer sweet. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. I run this community, and I have ways to make life very difficult for people who don't cooperate. Mom, maybe we should just get in the car." Tyler mumbled. "Tyler," she snapped. I stood there and watched them drive away. The sign was still there because Vicky was too mad to take it down herself. So I took it down and threw it in my garage. As I watched her car speed off, I thought, she just made a huge mistake. If she wants to play games with HOA rules and power, well, let's see how she handles someone who really knows how the game is played. I looked back at my lake and the water was calm again. But a storm was coming and Vicky was about to find out she had picked a fight with the wrong person. What secret plan did David have to take down Vicky's reign of terror? Drop your guesses below. What do you think David has up his sleeve? The next week, my mailbox was filled with fine notices from the HOA every day. I got 2 or 3 sealed envelopes with the official HOA logo. Oakwood Community HOA violation. Notice. Violation number 1. Landscaping noncompliance. The notice said, property owner has failed to maintain community landscaping standards. Too much wild plant life around the lake area makes the neighborhood look bad. Fine, $500. Must be fixed within 10 days. I had to laugh when I read it. The wild plant life they were talking about were the beautiful oak and maple trees that had been there long before the HOA even existed. Asterisk violation number 2, noise ordinance. Violation, multiple complaints have been received about loud noises from wildlife on the property. Frogs, birds, and other animals are bothering the peace of the community. Fine, $300. The owner must take steps to control animal noise. Control animal noise. Seriously. Violation number 3. Environmental hazard. The lake on the property could be a breeding ground for mosquitoes and gives off bad smells that affect nearby homes. A visit from the health department is suggested. Fine, $800. Must be fixed immediately. Every fine notice had Victoria Peterson's fancy signature as HOA President and demanded action in only 7 to 10 days. Tyler wasn't quiet either. He was posting online every day, showing off his rich kid lifestyle. There was a video of him unboxing a $200 t-shirt saying, "Thanks, Mom, for the raise in my allowance." There were stories of him at a motorcycle shop with the caption, "Picking out my new ride." "Mom said I deserve it." He posted dance videos by the public pool with the caption, "When your mom runs the whole neighborhood." On a Friday night, I sat in my dark kitchen with a stack of violation notices on the table. The fines added up to $1,600 and were still coming. Hiring a lawyer to fight them would cost twice as much as the fines themselves. For the first time since I bought the ranch, I felt defeated. With my phone next to the pile of notices, I started searching online for land for sale in the countryside. I thought, maybe I should just sell the ranch and find a place with no HOA. Peace of mind is more important than fighting for a principle. I looked out the window at the moonlight reflecting on the lake. This was the place where I had found peace after many stressful years working in the tech world. This was where I had started my life over. No, I decided, I won't let one power-hungry woman destroy this. That's when my phone buzzed. It was an email from a strange address, charlotte.show.bookkeeper@gmail.com. The subject was urgent. The message said, "David, I need to see you right away. Something is very wrong with the HOA's money. Can we meet tomorrow? Please don't tell anyone about this email." Charlotte. On Saturday morning, Charlotte came to my cabin to meet me. She was a 55-year-old woman with gray hair and glasses who looked like a retired teacher. Her hands were shaking as she held her coffee cup. "David," she began, "I've been the bookkeeper for this HOA for 8 years. I never had any problems with any president before now. What is happening with Vicky? Charlotte looked around nervously. She's making me approve some very strange expenses. This month alone, she's asked for $30,000 for community improvements, but I don't see any improvements. She pulled out a folder full of papers. Look at this. A lake cleanup consultation for $8,000, a community safety check for $12,000, a landscaping emergency fund for $10,000. Are these real services? I asked. That's the problem. I don't know, she said. She says if I question her, she report me to the state for not doing my bookkeeping right. She is threatening me, saying I could get in legal trouble. Charlotte's hands shook even more. David, I need this job for my retirement money. I can't afford legal problems. But my conscience can't take this anymore. What do you need from me? I asked. She's planning another big expense for next week, Charlotte said. $50,000 for the David Miller Property Lake Remediation Project. She says it's an emergency to protect the community's health. I leaned forward. She's using HOA money to attack my own property. It's worse than that, she said. The company she's hiring for this project. I looked it up. It's owned by someone with the last name Peterson. I think it's one of Vicky's relatives. Charlotte, do you remember the budget manager position from when this HOA was first started? I asked. Charlotte looked confused for a moment, then her face changed as she remembered. Oh my goodness, you're right. I do remember that position from the original papers. But it's been so long since anyone talked about it, I completely forgot it existed. The last president, Mr. Henderson, never used those powers. He always said being open and honest was more important than having authority. She paused, thinking back. Actually, now that you mention it, I remember being confused when Vicky first started spending so much money without asking anyone. I kept thinking there should be someone checking on her, but I couldn't remember the details. I've been doing this job for so long, I forget which rules are for which communities. Different HOAs have different rules, and I just thought that if Vicky was so confident, she must have known something I didn't. I should have looked at the original papers myself instead of just believing her. Charlotte looked confused. Well, yes, there's a budget manager position in the founding papers, but nobody has used it for years. That person is supposed to approve all big spending over $5,000. I smiled slowly. Actually, Charlotte, about that position ... I paused. Charlotte, I need to show you something. I took her to my home office, opened my file cabinet, and pulled out a thick folder that said HOA Incorporation Documents 2021, I explained. When this HOA was first created, all the first members had to vote for the first officers. Most people didn't want the boring money jobs. They just wanted to be in charge of how the houses and yards looked. I pulled out a paper with an official seal on it. I was voted to be the budget manager in that first charter. The position gives me the power to look at and approve all spending over $5,000 and to freeze the accounts if I think something fishy is going on. Charlotte stared at the paper. You've had this power this whole time. I never used it because the past HOA presidents were honest people, I said. I thought it was better to stay out of the way and let the community run itself, but Vicky ... She's forced me to act so you can stop the $50,000 payment. She asked. I can do better than that, I said. As budget manager, I have the right to ask for a complete check of all the finances and freeze the account while it's being reviewed. Every dollar Vicky has spent in the last 6 months will be looked at closely. Charlotte looked hopeful for the first time. When will you do this? Vicky is planning to get that $50,000 approved at an emergency HOA meeting on Monday, right? Yes, at 2 p.m., she confirmed. Perfect, I said. Let her give her presentation. Let her feel confident. Then, when she actually tries to move the money ... I smiled. That's when she find out her power was never as great as she thought. On Monday at 2 p.m., the community center meeting room was full of residents. Vicky stood at the front with a PowerPoint presentation titled Emergency Lake Remediation, Protecting Our Community. She was wearing a sharp business suit, her hair was perfect, and she seemed completely confident. Tyler sat in the front row, recording everything for his social media. Fellow residents, Vicky began, "We are facing an environmental crisis. The privately owned lake on Oakwood Drive has become a health hazard. There is standing water, mosquito breeding, and possible bacteria that is lowering our property values." The slideshow showed pictures of my lake that had been changed with filters to make it look dirty, along with fake statements from people about health problems and a professional-looking report about why it needed to be cleaned up immediately. "After talking with environmental experts, we must take action right away. The total cost will be $50,000 for a complete cleanup, testing, and future monitoring." A resident raised her hand. "That seems really expensive. Can we get a second opinion?" Vicky's smile tightened. "This is based on what the experts say. If we wait, the HOA could be sued if property values go down because of these environmental problems, all in favor of the Emergency Lake Remediation Fund." She asked. A few hesitant hands went up. Most residents trusted Vicky's expert opinion and were afraid of legal trouble. "The motion passes," Vicky declared. "Charlotte, please make the payment immediately." Charlotte stood up nervously. "I'll try to submit the transaction now." Vicky pulled out her phone to show everyone. She was taking care of business. "I'm calling Peterson Environmental Solutions right now to schedule the work for tomorrow," but when Charlotte tried to process the $50,000 transfer on her laptop, a message popped up. "Transaction denied. Account frozen pending review." Charlotte stared at the screen, confused. Mrs. Peterson, the transaction was rejected." Vicky kept her cool. "It must be a technical problem. Try again." Charlotte typed carefully. The same message appeared. Vicky's confidence was starting to disappear. "Let me call the bank," she said. She dialed the number and put the phone on speaker to show everyone she was being transparent. "First National Bank, how can I help you? This is Victoria Peterson, president of the Oakwood Community HOA. Our account number is ... Why is our transaction being denied?" The bank employee replied, "Mom, your account has been temporarily suspended, waiting for a review by your budget manager." The room was silent. Vicky's face turned white. "Budget manager? Who is the budget manager?" "According to our records, the budget manager for your HOA is ... David Miller." A pin-drop silence fell over the room. Every head turned to look at me. Vicky's voice cracked. "That's impossible. I'm the president." The bank employee explained, "Mom, the budget manager position has the power to override any spending over $5,000. Mr. Miller sent a formal request this morning for an account review because he suspected unusual activity." Tyler stood up, confused. "Mom, what's happening?" Vicky tried to recover. "There must be a mistake. David Miller has no power in this HOA." I slowly stood up and pulled out my official documents. "Actually, Vicky, I've been the budget manager since this HOA was created. I just never needed to use that power until now." The room filled with whispers. The residents who had voted for the $50,000 now looked worried. A neighbor asked, "David, how long have you had this position?" "Since 2021, when the HOA was first created. It's all in the public record," I answered. Vicky said desperately, This is a setup. He's trying to stop important environmental work." "Actually," I said, "I'm stopping what looks like embezzlement." "Charlotte, would you mind telling everyone who owns Peterson Environmental Solutions?" Charlotte quietly replied, It's owned by Victoria Peterson's brother-in-law." There was complete silence. Another resident asked, "So Vicky was planning to pay $50,000 to her own family?" Vicky shook her head. "That's not. The bid was fair." There were multiple quotes. "Show us the other quotes, Vicky," I challenged. Vicky couldn't show them because they didn't exist. Tyler tugged on his mom's sleeve. "Mom, I don't understand. What's happening?" Vicky snapped. "Tyler, go wait in the car." For the first time, the residents saw Vicky completely lose her composure. The mask was slipping, showing the real person underneath. I spoke to the room calmly. I will be doing a full review of all HOA spending for the past 6 months. Any real expenses will be paid. Any suspicious activity will be reported to the police. Vicky gathered her papers in a panic. This meeting is over. Actually, Vicky, I said, as budget manager, I'm calling for an emergency vote of no confidence in the current HOA president. A neighbor immediately responded, I second that motion. Multiple voices shouted, I vote yes, no confidence. Remove her. Vicky practically ran out of the room, shouting, this is illegal. I'll sue all of you. Tyler followed her, completely confused and scared. As the residents left, talking about what they had just seen, Charlotte came up to me. David, what happens now? Now, I said, we follow the money. Every transaction, every approved expense, every mysterious payment. Vicky thought she was playing a game of chess with someone who didn't know the rules. I looked out the window and saw her car speed away. She's about to learn that the quietest person in the room is often the one who is really in charge. Charlotte smiled for the first time in months. Should I prepare the full financial records for you to review? Yes, and Charlotte, I said, this time you won't have to worry about anyone threatening your job for doing the right thing. How much money do you think Vicky really stole, and where did it all go? Comment with your best guess about how much Vicky took. The closest answer gets a pinned comment. The next week, Vicky went into full damage control mode. She called an emergency meeting with Charlotte at the HOA office at 6 o'clock in the morning, hoping no one would see them together. The early time and secret meeting showed just how desperate she had become. Charlotte, we need to fix this situation. Immediately. Vicky's voice was no longer the sweet, manipulative tone she used in public. Now, it was just pure desperation mixed with barely controlled panic. That money wasn't misused. It was donated to charity, which is a completely legal use of HOA funds. Charlotte sat nervously across from Vicky, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Mrs. Peterson, I don't understand what you mean. The $30,000 from the past few months. Every penny went to our community charity fund called Green Community Fund. This is a perfectly legal use of HOA money for the good of the community, and anyone who says differently is lying. Vicky pulled out some paperwork that had clearly been made in a hurry. The ink was barely dry on some of the papers. C. Official charity registration. All the spending was for charitable donations that help our whole neighborhood. Charlotte looked at the documents with growing worrying. But these papers look very new. The registration date is from last week. And I don't remember handling any charity donations in our accounting system. Vicky's eyes flashed with anger, the mask of politeness completely gone. Charlotte, are you questioning my honesty? Because I should remind you that bookkeeping mistakes can lead to serious legal trouble. Forgetting to correctly label transactions could be seen as careless. Or worse, Charlotte shrank back in her chair. No, Mrs. Peterson, I just want to make sure everything is done correctly according to the proper accounting rules. Good, Vicky said. Now, I need you to update all the financial records right away to show these charitable donations. Every transaction needs to be changed to community outreach. Vicky leaned forward, her voice a threat, and Charlotte, if anyone asks, these donations have been part of our community outreach program for months. Do you understand me? The threat was clear. Meanwhile, Tyler continued living his best life with no idea about the storm brewing around his mother's illegal activities. His social media was full of posts showing off luxury items and a lavish lifestyle, which would soon become evidence of his mother's crimes. There were stories at a motorcycle dealership with captions like, "Finally got my dream bike, a Kawasaki Ninja. Mom said I earned it for helping with HOA stuff." There were dance videos with his expensive new motorcycle with captions like, "When your mom is the boss lady and takes care of her hard-working son." He posted from fancy restaurants in Designer clothes, writing, celebrating another successful week. Thanks to mom's business success paying off. Tyler's social media presence painted a clear picture of a young man living a life far beyond what any normal allowance could provide, all paid for with money that was about to be traced back to the HOA accounts. Every post, every purchase, every. Bragg was building a case against both him and his mother. On Saturday evening, Vicky called a mandatory community meeting at the community center. She had spent days preparing a detailed presentation to try to explain her spending and get back control of the situation. The desperation in her planning was clear. She knew this was her last chance to keep her position and stay out of jail. Fellow neighbors, Vicky began, trying to sound professional and in charge. I want to talk about the completely false and slanderous accusations that have been made against your dedicated HOA leadership. The room was tense. After the shocking news about the frozen bank account on Monday, many residents were suspicious and angry. Several people sat with their arms crossed, no longer willing to give Vicky the benefit of the doubt. The spending in question was absolutely not for personal use, she insisted. Every dollar was donated to our community charity, called the Green Community Fund, which I personally started to help our neighborhood's children and to fund environmental projects. She then showed a slide on the projector, Green Community Fund. Making our neighborhood better. The presentation looked professional, but anyone paying close attention could see it was put together in a hurry. This charity focuses on environmental improvements, kids' recreational activities, and projects to make our community more beautiful. Every single dollar has gone toward these important and necessary goals. A neighbor raised her hand skeptically. Can you show us specific examples of what this charity has actually done? What projects have been finished? Vicky, forcing a confident smile, replied, of course. We've paid for detailed environmental studies, community safety checks, and many youth development programs all over our neighborhood. Where exactly and when did these happen? I haven't seen any of these activities, and I'm here every day. The neighbor pressed. Vicky smoothly deflected. Many of our most important activities are ongoing and happen behind the scenes. Real community work doesn't always involve big public announcements or visible construction projects. Tyler stood up to support her, though his nervousness was clear to everyone. Yeah, my mom does tons of charity work, like tons and tons. She's always helping people and doing community stuff. The awkward silence that followed made it clear that Tyler's rehearsed speech had failed. Vicky continued, trying to control the situation. Also, these accusations of financial wrongdoing are not only completely false, but they could also be considered slander. I am seriously thinking about taking legal action against anyone spreading these harmful lies about dedicated community volunteers who give their time for the greater good. But the residents weren't buying her explanations anymore. Another neighbor spoke up firmly. Vicky, we want to see real documents. Bank statements for this charity, receipts for these activities, and proof that any work was actually done with our money. I don't appreciate being treated this way, Vicky snapped, by people who don't understand the difficult job of managing a community. We have every right to know exactly how our HOA money is being spent. That's our money you're talking about? Another resident shouted. The tension in the room was growing by the second. Vicky could see the community was turning against her, and her desperation was becoming more and more obvious. That's when I stood up from the back of the room, carrying my laptop and a folder of documents. Actually, I said, I've been doing a detailed investigation of these claims. Would everyone like to see what I found? Vicky's face went pale. Her carefully applied makeup couldn't hide her fear. David, this is completely inappropriate and possibly illegal. You have no right to investigate anything. Charlotte would. You mind helping me connect my laptop to the projector? I asked. Charlotte hesitantly moved to help me, her hands still shaking from weeks of stress and intimidation. I had spent the whole week working with a friend who is a forensic accountant. looking at every transaction and building a case that couldn't be broken. Let's start by looking at this green community fund that Vicky has been talking about, I said to the room. The first slide appeared on the screen. Green Community Fund, official registration documents. This charity was officially registered with the state last Tuesday. That's exactly 4 days after our last meeting, where the bank account was frozen. It has no history of operations, no board members except for Victoria Peterson, and absolutely no proof of any activities or charitable work. Murmurs of anger filled the room as people realized what was happening. Vicky desperately objected. The registration date doesn't mean anything. Charities can operate informally before they are officially registered. But here's where it gets really interesting, I said, clicking to the next slide. Complete bank transaction history. Over the past 6 months, $30,000 has been moved from our HOA account to different people. Let me show you exactly where our community's money really went. I showed the detailed transaction records on the screen, and the room erupted as residents saw the truth. $5,000 to Tyler Peterson with the note Educational Support Services, $3,000 to Tyler Peterson with the note Community Youth Consulting, $8,000 to Peterson Environmental with the note Lake Consultation Fees, $4,000 to VIP Catering Services, a company owned by Vicky's sister, and $10,000 to the Community Improvement Fund, which was actually Victoria Peterson's personal checking account. The room exploded with angry voices. She paid her own son. It's all a family business. This is straight up theft of our money. Tyler looked confused and more scared. Mom, what's happening? I don't understand what this means. You said that money was my allowance because I helped you with HOA work. Vicky hissed at her son. Tyler, shut up right now. But the damage was done. Tyler had just admitted in front of everyone that he had been getting HOA money. But wait, there's much more to see, I continued calmly. Tyler, do you remember that expensive motorcycle you've been posting about on social media? I then showed Tyler's own social media posts on the screen for everyone to see. There was a photo of an $18,000 Kawasaki motorcycle with Tyler's caption, "Thanks, Mom, for the bonus money." This bike costs more than most people make in several months. There was also a video of Tyler counting a stack of cash, saying, "Mom gave me $5,000 just because she's awesome." Being the HOA president's son definitely has its perks. There were multiple dance videos of him in expensive designer clothes with captions like, "When your mom runs the whole neighborhood and hooks you up with everything." I said, "Thanks too, Mom." Tyler has documented everything himself on social media. According to these posts and the bank records, he got at least $18,000 in HOA money over the last 6 months. He truly believed it was normal allowance money from his mom's successful business career. Tyler stood up in a panic, his voice cracking. "I didn't know it was stolen. Mom told me she was a successful businesswoman. She said HOA presidents make a lot of money managing communities. I thought it was her salary." Vicky desperately tried to control the damage. Tyler is confused. He doesn't understand grown-up financial matters. He's twisting normal family financial arrangements. Actually, let's ask Tyler directly what his mother told him, I said, turning to him. Tyler, did your mom specifically tell you that the HOA pays her a salary for being president? Yeah, Tyler said softly. She said being president means she gets paid by the community to manage everything. She said all that money was from her management fees and consulting work. As a complete silence fell over the room, every resident stared at Vicky in shock and disgust. A neighbor spoke up. The HOA president position is completely volunteer. There is no salary, no consulting fees, no payment of any kind. Tyler looked completely crushed as the reality of the situation hit him. What? Mom, you said ... you told me you earned this money through your job. Vicky was completely cornered. Now, Tyler doesn't understand complex financial arrangements between organizations. So your adult son thinks stealing community money is a legitimate business operation? Another resident asked with cold anger. Tyler slumped in his chair, finally understanding the true scale of what his mother had done. Oh my God, Mom ... Where did the money really come from? Did you steal it? I continued presenting the evidence one piece at a time. The fake invoices from Peterson Environmental, a company that only existed on paper and had never done any real work. The community improvements that never happened anywhere in our neighborhood. The youth programs that were nothing more than cash payments to Tyler Peterson. Every dollar can be traced through bank records, I explained. Every transaction is documented with Vicky's signature. Victoria Peterson created a detailed criminal plan to secretly funnel HOA money to herself and her family, all while pretending it was for community and charitable reasons. What made this so infuriating was how carefully planned it all was. This wasn't just someone making a few bad choices in the heat of the moment. Vicky had clearly planned this whole thing from the day she took office. She had studied our HOA rules, looking for any loopholes she could use. She had registered fake businesses, created fake paperwork, and built a whole network of family members ready to help her with her scheme. The Green Community Fund wasn't just a quick cover story. She had actually filed real paperwork with the state, created official-looking materials, and even made a basic website to make it look real. She had put a lot of time and effort into making her theft look professional and legal. The nerve of it was incredible. Here was a woman who had been chosen to serve her community, and instead, she used her position as a license to steal. Every meeting where she talked about community values and being responsible with money was just an act. While she was secretly emptying our bank account, the room was dead silent except for Tyler's quiet sobs. The golden boy who had been live streaming his luxury lifestyle was finally realizing that his perfect life was built on stolen money from his neighbors. Vicky made one last, desperate attempt to save herself. This is all lies and manipulation. David is making up documents to get revenge. He's angry about the lake and he's trying to destroy me. Actually, Vicky, I said, I have audio recordings of our conversations. I played a crystal clear recording on my phone of Vicky's voice where she talked about how she would make my life very complicated and show him who really runs this community and what happens to people who don't cooperate with me. That was the last straw that broke any support she might have had left. A neighbor stood up angrily. I make a motion for the immediate removal of Victoria Peterson as HOA President and for her to be immediately referred to the police for a criminal investigation. Seconded. Multiple voices responded together. All in favor of removing Victoria Peterson and calling the police. Every single hand in the room went up, except for Vicky's and Tyler's. Tyler stood up shakily with tears streaming down his face. Mom ... I need to go home. I feel sick about all of this. He stumbled toward the exit, finally understanding that his perfect life had been built on lies and theft from his neighbors. Vicky chased after him. Tyler, wait. I can explain everything. It's not what it looks like. But Tyler kept walking, unable to face the reality of what his mother had done and his own unknowing part in her crimes. As the residents left, discussing what they had just witnessed, Charlotte approached me with tears of relief in her eyes. David, what's going to happen to Tyler? He really seems like he didn't know the money was stolen. Tyler will have to face some legal consequences, I said, but he's young and was clearly used by someone he trusted, the real criminal mastermind. Here is Vicky. Through the window, Vicky saw me talking with the police. She stormed out, her hair a mess and her makeup smeared. She looked completely different from the polished woman she was just weeks ago. Officers, arrest this man immediately. He's been stalking me, breaking into HOA files, and making up evidence to destroy my reputation. Tyler followed her reluctantly, looking ashamed and scared. Ma'am, we need to sort this out calmly, Officer Martinez said. There's nothing to sort out, she shrieked. He's a criminal. He's faked financial records to make it look like I stole money. It's all lies designed to take my position and get revenge over the lake." More residents had gathered, drawn by the noise. Charlotte arrived carrying a box of financial documents. Vicky pointed an accusing finger at her. "She's his partner in crime. They've been plotting against me." Charlotte has been feeding him secret information. Officer Martinez asked me, "Sir, do you have any proof of your position in this organization?" This was the perfect moment for the final reveal. I calmly pulled out my wallet, took out my official ID card and the folded documents. "Officers, I am David Miller, the elected budget manager of the Oakwood Community HOA. I was voted into this position when the HOA was created in 2021, 2 years before Mrs. Peterson became president." I handed the documents to Officer Martinez. "Here is my official appointment letter, signed by the founding members, filed with the state, and registered with the bank as the authorized financial overseer." Officer Martinez looked at the papers carefully. These appear to be legitimate and properly notarized. Vicky desperately replied, "That's impossible. I would have known. No one told me about any budget manager." "Actually, Vicky," I said, "it's listed in every HOA charter document. You would have seen it if you had bothered to read the rules before. You assumed you had unlimited power." I turned to the officers. "As budget manager, I have the legal right to review all spending over $5,000, freeze accounts if I suspect strange activity, and report possible embezzlement to the authorities. Every action I've taken is within my legal rights." Mrs. Peterson, however, has been acting under the wrong idea that being the HOA president gives her unlimited financial control. Tyler quietly asked his mom, You really didn't know about this position?" Vicky snapped. "Tyler, shut up." Officer Martinez said, "Ma'am, please don't yell at your son." "Sir, can you explain exactly what you found?" I spoke to the growing crowd of residents and police. For the past 6 months, Mrs. Peterson has been secretly moving HOA funds for her own personal use. She created a fake charity, made fake invoices from family-owned businesses, and paid her son thousands of dollars in consulting fees for work. That was never done. The total amount she embezzled is about $65,000. Gasps came from the residents. Even Tyler looked shocked at the amount, but here's what makes this even worse, I continued. Mrs. Peterson did all this while threatening the bookkeeper, Charlotte, with legal action if she questioned any of the transactions. She used fear to make sure Charlotte complied. Charlotte stepped forward. "Officers, I can confirm this, Mrs. Peterson told me I would face criminal charges if I reported her suspicious spending." Officer Martinez turned to Vicky. "Mrs. Peterson, how do you respond to these accusations?" Vicky was completely cornered now. "It's all lies. They're plotting against me. David is trying to take control of the HOA. He's been planning this since the lake incident." "Actually," I said calmly, "I've been watching the HOA finances since 2021. I never stepped in because past presidents were honest. You forced me to act with your criminal behavior." Tyler finally spoke up. "Mom, just tell the truth. Did you really steal the money?" "I didn't steal anything," she screamed. "That money was for the good of the community. But you gave it to me. You bought me a motorcycle. You paid your brother-in-law's fake company." Tyler shouted. "Tyler, stop talking," Vicky yelled. Officer Martinez said, "Young man, did you know where the money came from?" Tyler was crying now. "No. Mom told me she had a successful business. She said HOA presidents get paid salaries. I thought she earned everything." Vicky made one final, desperate play. "Officers, you have to understand, David Miller has been stalking me for weeks. He broke into my home, stole documents, and has been threatening me." "Actually," Charlotte interrupted, "Mr. Miller requested documents through proper legal channels. I gave them to him because it's required by law when the budget manager asks for a financial review." I added, "Officers, every document I have was obtained legally." Every claim I've made is backed up by bank records, official receipts, and Mrs. Peterson's own signed approvals. Furthermore, I have recordings of Mrs. Peterson threatening Charlotte, trying to force her into false bookkeeping and admitting to the fake expenses. Vicky realized she was completely trapped. This is all. It's all a misunderstanding. I can pay the money back. I can fix everything. So you admit there's money to pay back? Officer Martinez asked. Vicky was caught in her own words. I mean double quotes. Tyler stood up. Mom, please just stop. Everyone knows what happened. Just tell the truth for once. Officer Martinez pulled out his handcuffs. Victoria Peterson, you're under arrest for embezzlement of community funds, filing false police reports, and conspiracy to commit fraud. You have the right to remain silent. As the handcuffs clicked on, Vicky broke down completely. This isn't fair. I worked so hard for this community. I was trying to make things better. David ruined everything. Tyler watched his mom get arrested. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have asked questions. I should have known better. The residents who had gathered watched in stunned silence as the woman who had terrorized their community for months was led away in handcuffs. A neighbor approached me. David, what happens now? Now, we rebuild, I said. We elect new leadership, set up proper financial checks, and make sure this never happens. Again, will you run for president? She asked. I looked around at the faces of my neighbors, people I had lived near for years but had barely known until this crisis brought us all together. If the community wants me to serve, I will. But this time we'll do it right, with openness, accountability, and respect for everyone's rights. Tyler approached me hesitantly. Mr. Miller, I know I don't deserve to be forgiven, but what's going to happen to me? Tyler, I said gently, you made mistakes, but you were used by someone you trusted. The courts will decide the legal outcomes, but you're young. You can learn from this and build a better life. Will I have to pay the money back? He asked. Yes, but there are payment plans and community service options. The goal isn't to destroy your future, it's to make things right. Charlotte smiled. David, should I start getting the budget ready for next year? Yes, Charlotte, and this time every dollar will be accounted for. Every resident will know exactly how their money is spent. As the police cars drove away with Vicky inside, I stood with my neighbors who were no longer strangers. We were looking toward a future where our community could finally work the way it was supposed to. 3 months later, my lake was peaceful once again, but now it served to purposes. Every Saturday morning, I host a community coffee for neighbors who want to talk about HOA matters in a friendly, informal setting. Tyler had sold his motorcycle, moved back in with his father, and started a community service program. He's quieter now, more thoughtful, and is working to earn back trust. Vicky received an 18-month jail sentence and has to pay back the $65,000 she stole. Her house is for sale, and she will never be in a position of community leadership again. Charlotte is doing great as the head financial officer with proper budget rules and open processes. And I discovered something I didn't expect. Being involved in the community isn't a chore, it's a reward. When everyone has a voice and honest leadership, amazing things can happen. A new sign stands by the lake now. It reads Miller Ranch Lake. Community welcome by invitation. Sometimes neighbors bring their kids over for an afternoon of fishing. Sometimes we just sit quietly and watch the water reflect the sky. Tyler visited last week for the first time since the arrest. Mr. Miller, can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Why didn't you just move away when my mom started causing trouble? I thought for a moment. Because running away from problems doesn't solve them. Tyler, sometimes you have to stand up and fight for what's right, even when it's hard. I wish I had learned that lesson sooner. You're learning it now, I told him. That's what matters. As the sun set over the lake, I realized that this place, this community, is finally what I hoped it would be when I first moved here. Peaceful, honest, and truly shared among people who respect each other. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one who is really running the show. And sometimes that's exactly what a community needs.